It's typical here at Empty Gate that the second Wednesday of the month, generally, not always, but generally, I give the Dharma Talk and answer questions rather than just answer questions. So, I have just returned from about 11 days in Mexico, and I led 2 different meditation retreats in Mexico. One, we have a group. Empty Gate Zen Center is part of an international group called the Quantum School of Zen. We're a group of probably around 100 Zen centers around the world that were started either by students of Zen Master Bon Soeng, that gentleman up on the wall on that side. He came to the United States from Korea in 1972 and started up a Zen Center in Providence, Rhode Island, and after that just continued to start Zen Centers. Empty Gate Zen Center started in, I believe, 1977. I got there in 1979. So our group in Mexico City, we actually did our retreat outside of the city in a place that was, in a sense, it was a weekend home, how would I put this? Like a development of weekend homes for people from Mexico City. And it was a lovely place to do a retreat. The whole back wall of the house was windows, and then to my surprise in the morning, like a garage door, they lifted up the entire thing so that the outside and the inside was the same, really, which was a quite lovely way to do a retreat. And then after that retreat, I traveled to the city of Jalapa, which is the capital of the state of Veracruz. It's I'd say about a 4.5-hour bus ride from Mexico City, and a much different environment, a beautiful little city in the mountains, about 3,000 feet up, ringed by mountains with one very tall volcano in the distance. And it's very interesting to me flying into Mexico City. Of course, we flew in and we got there late at night, so by the time I got to the retreat center, it was dark and I couldn't see very much. But I know I have some natives of Mexico here. You have your own experience, I'm sure, of being in Mexico. But for somebody who spends his time in the United States and who loves to travel, actually, and does quite a bit of it, to take a 4.5-hour plane ride, get off the plane, and everything is different. Everything looks different, smells different, the food tastes different. And I'm often struck when I travel how being in one place makes us think the world is a very particular way. And by traveling, you can see that the world is not particularly any one way. You know, I've said before, last year we traveled to India as a group, and in India we had about 80 people in the group, and we were doing a pilgrimage of the Buddhist sites in northern India where the Buddha lived and taught. And everybody who was on the tour, I can't say everybody, but many of the people who spoke to me, had some idea that would make India just a little bit better. For me, it was one-way streets. The traffic was so crazy between the cows and the goats and the dogs and the bicycles and the rickshaws and the cars and the trucks and the buses, all vying for the same piece of land, plus all the pedestrians who were walking willy-nilly in the street. I thought, boy, if all the traffic went one way, that would be better. But of course, that's just my idea. Cultures form in their own particular ways. We attach to one idea, this is the good way, that's not right. But that's just all our thinking. It's not really true. What's true maybe is what we like and we don't like, but that's not even truth either. That's just our opinion about things. We live in the dream of our own opinions about things, our own ideas and beliefs. and we mistake that for reality. Now, in some ways it can't be helped. We do have our likes and dislikes, we do have our ideas and beliefs. That's fine. But to believe it's true, number one, we miss what actually is true, and number two, our minds get very rigid and tight. And we defend what we like, we push away what we don't like, and ultimately we live in a fantasy and we suffer for it. Another thing about traveling to Mexico and teaching Zen is that there's actually quite a number of people who are interested, but there are very few teachers to teach. So when I go, there's quite a lot of interest and quite a lot of maybe appreciation, but more important, really kind of a try mind and effort to do it. We here in the United States, we've been having Buddhist teachers for around 60, 70 years, and it's very easy to get complacent. It's very easy to just take for granted things that are around. But when you don't have something, you get a better flavor for actually what it is and maybe what it is that it means to you. So, we do these, I went down to Mexico to lead 2 retreats, and we do these retreats, which is really concentrated Zen practice. A retreat, like we're going to do a 1-day retreat next Saturday, where we'll have 2.5-hour sessions of meditation with lunch and a little bit of work in between. So, and a little bit of chanting and bowing that goes along with it. In some ways it's not that much different than what we did tonight, but it gets concentrated. You'd sit that period you sat just now, and then you'd get up and you walk for 10 minutes in a line, in a group, staying in your meditative experience, and then you sit back down again and you do it again. And you do 4 periods of that twice in the day, and that's a 1-day retreat here. And this concentration of practice is actually quite important because, like I said to start the talk, we live in a kind of dream world, and we mistake our dream for reality. And it takes work, it takes effort to actually be able to see through the dream to what's true. There's a koan that we use, a question and answer dialogue that we use that I like quite a bit, and it came up in Mexico, so I think I want to share something about it. A monk walks into the Zen Master and he says, "Master, where is the Buddha Dharma? Where is the Buddha Dharma?" We talk about these words, Buddha Dharma, Buddha nature. It's great to talk about it, but the monk says, "Where is it?" And the teacher replies, "Right in front of you." How simple can you get? Where is the Buddha Dharma? That's like, where is the truth? And the teacher says, right in front of you. And the monk says, "You say right in front of you, but I can't see it." What a concept. Can't see what's right in front of you. So the Zen Master says, you make I, like ego I, so you can't see it. So what he's saying there is, you have this sense of self, and this sense of self is an illusion and a dream. And because you live and you get caught up in the illusion and the dream, you can't see the truth, the Buddha Dharma, which is right in front of you. So, again, the Zen Master said to the monk, you make I. You have this, you hang on to this sense of self, so you can't see what's right in front of you. So the student says, well, do you see, Master? And this is probably my favorite line, just to telegraph it for you. The Zen Master says, if you make I, you cannot see it. But when you make you, it's even more impossible to see it. Because the you just compounds the dream. And now you're totally lost. You've gone farther and farther and farther and farther away from what's right in front of you. So I was using this story with somebody, because the second retreat in Jalapa, it's not a group that's in a part of our Zen group. So they wanted me to introduce koan practice, which turned out to took 5 talks. Never. Some of you might be interested in hearing the talks, because I would go through a lot more explanation than you hear at Empty Gate generally. And if you'd like, if you're just interested in the Spanish translation, everything is translated into Spanish. But anyway, so I was telling this story, so somehow there was a woman kind of sitting in the audience, and she said, so where is the Buddha Dharma? And I said to her, what do you see now? And just like often happens when I ask that question, she couldn't answer. She was completely stuck. The most simple question, she couldn't answer. And you could see she was really getting tied up in knots. I said, so finally she says, I don't know. I said, that's not true. You do know. So now she's really, and with koan practice, it means come alive right now. And what kept happening for her, and this is not picking on her, I've seen this happen time and time again, the more I pushed a little bit, the farther away she got. So finally she said what many people say, and you'll be surprised. I'll ask, if you come to interview, I might ask you this, even though you've heard the story, you're going to give the same answer. So finally she says, you are sitting right in front of me. You are right in front of me. And I say, no, there's no such thing as you. You is a concept. What do you see? And by this time the tears are starting to fall down her eyes. Because on one hand, we all know it. It's so obvious. But on the other hand, we can't get it out. We're stuck. So she hit this stuck place. We all hate that stuck place. In some ways, it's the last place we ever want to be. We want to be cool. We want to know. We want to be able to show off what we know. But here she was, completely stuck and exposed. She was in her community. There were 25 other people, just like this room, sitting around, and here she is, she's stuck. I'm not going to take it too much farther, because I actually helped her to get a little bit closer to what we're pointing to. But 2 important things. One is the teaching that the Zen Master gave at the beginning. The Buddha Dharma is right in front of you. Turn this way, there it is. Turn that way, there it is. Turn that way, there it is. Turn that way, you're all facing this way. The Buddha Dharma is right in front of you. But if you say it's the Buddha sitting on the altar, you're close, but you're missing the point. That's a statue. Now, it may be true that the statue is made up of substance, which is the Buddha Dharma, but it could be an elephant, it could be a piece of shit, sitting right up there in that central place. And the Buddha Dharma would still be right in front of you. Some things we like, some things we don't like. We're attracted to beauty, we're repulsed by the vulgar or the disgusting. But nonetheless, all of it if we can break through our illusion, is true. So our first step in practice is to be able to perceive truth. What is it right now? What is it that's not our fantasy, not our commentary on it? So, you all see this cup. What's the truth of this cup? Oftentimes you get locked into the idea of, wow, I kind of like that. Or, that's commercial. It's probably 25 cents made in China somewhere. Probably by child labor. And this cup is no good. See, what I'm saying is, whatever we see, whatever we're experiencing, immediately our commentary about it comes up. And then we get lost in the commentary and we lose the thing itself. So the first step in our Zen practice is to come back to what is right here, right now. It sounds so easy. But be honest with yourself. How often are you there? Or how often are you lost in the dream of your own story? In some sense, we can say our stories have value. But anything has some value. It loses its value when we get lost in it. So, one of the early great Zen masters said, the great way is not difficult for those who don't make distinctions, or those who don't make right and wrong, good and bad. Don't get lost in dualistic thinking. Sometimes the language is a little misleading because as human beings, it's near impossible for us not to make what we like and what we don't like. The key is how attached do we get? How rigid do we get in our experience? How strongly do we defend some fantasy and idea that we really don't even know is true? We have discussions with each other, let's say political discussions, and we say these things as facts, but do we really know them as facts? Or are they really just something we've read? And maybe we like the person who wrote it, so we believe the fact. So much of our experience is not based on our own true experience. It's a story that somebody else has told us. Or there's a whole culture built up on stories that other people have said. And if we like the source, we believe it. If we don't like the source, we don't believe it. I remember when I was a senior in high school, I had this English teacher, and she did a little section on, she had us all bring in newspaper articles. And she had us look to separate out the commentary from the facts. And it was mind-boggling to see how much in something that's supposed to be, or is considered a factual expression of something, is actually made up of opinion, or adjectives that push one idea rather than another. Now, there's plenty of room for advocacy. I'm not suggesting that that's a problem. But it becomes a problem if we mistake the commentary for reality, for truth. So what was interesting is being in Mexico, and it was just a short time, and in some ways you probably could accuse me of creating some stories out of the experience that I had. But being a Zen master and giving interviews with people, sometimes it's quite interesting. People come in and get to the very heart of their suffering. And it often can be stories about situations at work, or very often it's situations in families. Either a lot of the people, especially in Jalapa, are older people, so they have difficulties with their children, or difficulties in the relationships that they're in, and they become very vulnerable very quickly. That happens here too, but a little bit differently. Some Zen teachers try to push people aside from their vulnerability and their psychological or emotional situations and come back to this moment. And that's a very strong practice. And we do that a lot with our, what we call koan practice. Kind of, again, trying to get out of the story, move into something real. But for me, probably because I'm psychologically oriented as a psychotherapist, I recognize that these stories, these difficult situations that we all find ourselves in, actually create the fences and the boundaries of who we think we are. And we see things and understand things through the lens of those difficult situations. So if we can find a way to hold the situation and not get lost in it, there's actually quite a lot of potential to find freedom and some spaciousness. So this meditation that Paul gave some meditation instruction this evening, we talk a lot about finding your energy in your lower abdomen. Different schools, different ways call it different things. In the Japanese schools, they call it the hara, or the center. The Chinese and the Korean style, we call it the tangen, energy garden. That we all have a place to return to give ourselves some stability and clarity, to deal with the stressful, difficult situations of our lives. But usually these stressful, difficult situations in our lives pull us out of ourselves. It's as if we leave ourselves with our energy and we go out of ourselves to the situation. And then we get unbalanced and lost. So one of the, to me, most important and amazing things that this Zen practice can offer us is a way to stay put, to stay within ourselves when these situations are arising. If we can move our energy out of our heads and even out of our emotional center and bring it down into this energy garden, there's a stability and a strength that we can develop so that we actually do have the capacity to deal with what is right in front of us. And if you remember where I started, the Buddha Dharma is right in front of us. But very often we're too scared, too consumed with other things to actually deal with what's right in front of us, to stay present and focused and alive in this moment. By finding some stability in our lower abdomen, in our tangen, in our energy garden, it actually helps us develop the strength and the courage to stay put and be alive and present and actually deal with the situation that we're in. We all can see it in other people. We see the way, if you watch people, you'll see how their energy's often going out or up and out. And in our Zen practice, we're bringing the energy in and down. And that's where we get our strength. That's where we get our clarity. If we can bring our energy down, it's much easier to actually see what's right in front of us. Because if it's all up here, all of our fantasies and commentary and stories are dancing around and our eyes get blocked. The filters are too strong. We miss it. by bringing our energy and our attention down, we open up some clarity in our eyes. Our nose is better able to actually smell. Our taste buds become alive. Our hearts can open up. Compassion can naturally come forward once we pull away the defenses and all the fantasies that are blocking us. And in that state of mind, interacting with the world in that way, we are alive. We're not ghosts. So far removed from the present moment and acting in crazy ways because we're avoiding the truth of our own experience. So here at the Zen Center, we have daily practice, most days twice a day. We have these Wednesday night programs every Wednesday night, offering some talks and kind of giving you all a direction. How do you practice? What do you do? Saturday mornings, we often have extra period of sitting. We sometimes have interviews here. And then once a month, we have these meditation retreats, like next Saturday. Where next Saturday, our schedule is a little bit different because we're going to start at 7 in the morning. Usually we start at 9 on a one-day retreat. And we get a chance to stay with ourselves. And it might sound daunting to sit 4 half-hour periods with 3 walking periods in between, have some lunch, do a work period, and then do it all over again. But the beauty of it is it's quiet. You're supported by the Sangha, the people around you. Most of the time, you're just by yourself, dealing with your experience. You settle your energy, you clear your mind, and you get to watch yourself. You get to watch and see things about yourself that you never really have time to see because we're so busy distracting ourselves. We take away the distractions, but it's structured in such a way that you don't have to worry about figuring out what to do. You just sit there, put your hands in the right position, hold your body in the position you're in, and start to breathe. And then you watch. We get trained to be good observers of our own nature. So that when we're living in our lives and things happen to us, we can notice, how is it that we're responding? We're not fooled so much by our own behavior because we become more clear about what we're doing and how we respond to things. And you gain a little bit of wisdom. Oh, that's how I usually react to that. Maybe, just maybe, there's another way. We practice with not knowing. We're so trained to know and to believe our ideas. So we practice to not know. And in that not knowing, to actually be able to open up to the situation. Those of us who have been doing these retreats for a long time, we don't even know what they're doing. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard. Every moment of a retreat is a different moment. But cumulatively, over time, we start to get a little smarter, less fooled by our own bullshit, and more able to be open and honest and clear and offer ourselves up to the world that we're living in, to meet the moment completely. Break through the separation and actually experience the moment and offer ourselves up in a way to give a little bit of help, a little bit of wisdom and compassion, and offer it up to the world. Any questions? Any comments? Anything anybody wants to talk about?
Thank you for the talk. I have a bit of a provocative question, but it's really begging out. you oftentimes say things like, we live in a fantasy world, we are stuck in our opinions. So this we seems to imply everyone on earth. So my question is there anyone who through practice can be said to no longer be included into this we? Who does?
You. Next question. You don't understand. I said, if you make I, it's very difficult to see. If you make you, it's even more difficult to see. If you make we, you're totally lost. Come back to your own experience, just now. Use it. Don't get lost. We all do it, but you don't have to. You already have moments. The great Zen Master Suzuki Roshi said, there's no such thing as an enlightened being. There are enlightened moments. You wake up. You already do it. But you discount it because you go back into your fantasy. And when you don't do it, no we does it. Take responsibility for your action. You already know it. So you do it.
So the Susan said it's easy to attain enlightenment. And it's a course. It's right now.
And then he said it's hard to keep.
Correct. He said it's hard to keep because it's changing.
Of course.
So how do you hold on to the changing?
You don't. You don't. You join with it. You can't stop it. It's way stronger than you.
But as soon as you speak about it, you lose the point. You miss the point. You miss the bullseye. So
No.
No.
It's right here. You're asking
Yeah,
me.
that's
I'm
right.
answering
The
you.
lights are on. It's brown the floor. I can see the mom behind
Yeah.
your head. So, yeah, it's all present right now.
Yeah, but
So
you're
it's
also
changing.
in a dialogue.
That's correct.
That's also happening.
That's correct.
Use your words.
Sure.
Make them alive. This moment.
This moment.
Don't worry about the next moment. Next moment, you worry about this moment.
Goes to the next moment.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to the next moment. Is it?
I'm sorry?
Is there a next moment? Is there a next moment? Who's making the next moment? I can make the next moment.
So no
That's
problem.
on you, Zen Master.
So no problem.
No problem. Cool.
Good. Anybody else? Be bold. If you don't have a question, then you're stuck in your own mind.
About this we business.
You're back to we. You make we have we.
I wasn't the one who started saying we are stuck in the fantasy world. So I'm still not quite satisfied that I got my pointer to last in the next week.
Put your hand down.
Up?
Out. Feel that?
Yes.
That's all. You already got it. Now, you don't like that answer, so you're back into your dream world. Your feet are on the floor. Do you feel them?
Yes.
You already understand the floor. But then, maybe you don't like that answer. You don't believe your experience. So then you go back into the dream world. Come back to the reality of what's right in front of you. Use the moment to wake up. It's right here for you. So we collectively can easily get lost in our fantasy. Each one of us individually makes up we. But each one of us individually has the capacity to hear, to smell, to see, to respond clearly. We all do it. And then often we get lost in thinking about it. I just did a retreat for 25 people. Everybody said how wonderful it was. They were all so happy when it ended. I could go right into the fantasy of that. But that's not the point. That's the dream. We all like to get praise, and then we can get lost in the praise. Our chest could go out a little bit farther. We start strutting around, we're pretty cool. But that's not it. Just do your job. Offer yourself up. That's all. That's how we return to the moment. That's all. Many people do that. You do that. Okay? Anybody else?
So are all jobs equal?
Yes. What could not be equal? What could not be equal?
Do you want the Zen answer? Or?
No. I don't think you could come up with a Zen answer for that. Maybe you could. No, but I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you could be engaged in a job where, you could, well, sorry to anybody who's an investment banker in Wall Street here, but, you could be an investment banker.
It's a very important job.
Totally engaged in your business, which is maybe taking, crushing, let's just say that particular day you're engaged in dismantling a company, and a lot of people don't lose their jobs, but you're totally engaged in it. Or you could be a doctor doing surgery to say, are they the same if you're totally engaged in it?
Well, I said they're equal. I didn't say they were the same.
So are they?
Are they what?
The same?
You asking me to put value on it? They're obviously not the same. One is working on a computer with numbers. One is working with a human being and dealing with their ailments. So they're different. But is one better or worse? Is that what you're asking?
If you're totally engaged in it, so there's no you and there's no job, you're just totally showing up.
Yeah.
Does it matter what you do?
You find out for yourself. I can't answer that. Your question is biased because you don't like investment bankers. But if you're opening a big company, if you're trying to start a business, you may really like that investment banker. So it's relative.
Or an arms dealer,
Yeah, if your political view says the Syrian opposition is good, then maybe the arms dealer is quite a help. We could get into our opinion about it. I'm not going to my opinion about it. I've got my own opinion, believe me. But more importantly is that it's very easy for us to get caught into what we believe in and to believe that it's true and then evaluate everything around it. Of course, we do that. I'm just suggesting keep a little doubt. Recognize your own biases and keep looking into your own experience to be more honest with your own biases. And then go forward and follow what you believe. I'm not at all against activism, believe me. But I think we need to, while we're doing it, to be conscious that we may be wrong. That the thing we think may not be exactly right. that's all. It's one person's revolution, you know, what was it? Ronald Reagan called the Contras the freedom fighters. That's a nice name, but if you're on the other side, they're the reactionary forces that are trying to take us back to what we just got rid of. It depends what side you're on. It depends if you look this way or if you look this way. So you at least have to be aware of how it is that your beliefs are formed and recognize that none of us can hold the whole truth. That there may be some value to investment bankers that you don't quite get. I can't say what that is, but there must be some. I just know to doubt my own beliefs. Let's just maybe leave it at that. And then go forward. Chinese called it great doubt. And they said it's the first of three things that you need to practice in. Great doubt is not self-doubt. It's not being critical of yourself. It's actually being willing to be skeptical of your own beliefs and ideas. And I think that's very healthy. But everything is equal. But if you go to good and bad, you're changing the scale that we're measuring it on. Okay?
I was wondering if I could ask you one question pertaining to depression and meditation.
Depression and meditation?
It makes sense if somebody were taking, say, the SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, for the depression and practicing Zen at the same time. Is that a compatible thing going on here? Because
Yes.
I don't know how it is. Yeah, I would imagine so. That it would actually be beneficial just to raise those levels of serotonin and zazen at the same time.
Yeah,
So, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Which does make sense.
Things in our universe are here to be used. The challenge is how we use them and not getting lost in them. Many people throughout the world both practice meditation and take SSRIs.
Right, yeah, but that was an issue one time. I remember back in Providence about when Prozac first came out, and there was that little discussion back in the 80s whether they were, it was being talked about in the early years.
Different people have different beliefs about it. Honestly, I don't know what's exactly true. I just know from experience that I work with people who are using both. They're getting some stability and balance through some chemicals that help them, help their brains function a little better.
Alleviating symptoms, say, of anger,
Yeah.
which are typical of
Yeah.
depression, then it would be, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any last question before we end? Yes, sir.
I have a question about compassion, and it's the kind of theme with this practice, but I wanted to find out about the element of kind of looking into and overcoming fear as a way to kind of promote compassion. I feel like that is something that's kind of glossed over. And what is your take on how important that is?
That's the line in the Heart Sutra: without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. I would be a little bit cautious of the language of overcoming your fears. I would change it to working with your fears, not being defeated by your fears maybe, but overcoming. If you don't have fear, you don't need courage. But courage is a pretty good way to work with fear. So if you're trying to overcome it, you're almost setting a goal too high, and you're going to always be doubting yourself because you're short of the mark. But if the practice is not being deterred by fear, working with your fear, having courage, it's more doable. And so experiment with that, and in your next Dharma talk, tell us how it goes. So we all will be helped by your experience. Okay, thanks, Gary. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Thank you for your talk.